Alright guys, TacticalBear back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Monday so far, and today we've got to recap the Florida Mutineers Home Series Championship Sunday, which concluded yesterday. Atlanta FaZe walk away with the victory, as they were favourites going into the weekend, proving that they still are the team to beat when the Dallas Empire aren't there. However, there is a lot of other things to discuss here. This definitely could have gone a number of different ways, and I wanted to make another video later today talking about Pristini to the Huntsman, as apparently that is now pending league approval. But that will come in a few hours' time. Today we've got to talk about yesterday's actions. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks to Cam Allen for the scoreboards we will discuss in the coming minutes. And let's hop right into the first series of the day, that being OpTic Gaming Los Angeles versus the Toronto Ultra. This was the first of the semi-finals. A semi-final that I'm pretty sure really nobody predicted here. Toronto to come out that really difficult Group A, and OpTic to make it through looking much better in Group B. Was probably more easily predictable, but regardless, let's get on with the series then. So game number one, OpTic Gaming LA looked really strong in their hard points. I was very impressed with their clutch factor here, especially on this Ramazza game number one. They get the job done there, but then they go back to Ramazza in game two, Search and Destroy. And Slasher just has a shocker, right? Like, Slasher has played great so far this tournament, really reminded people why he's considered one of the best to ever do it, and one of the biggest winners in Call of Duty history, especially in terms of a winning mindset and, you know, the gameplay ability to boot. But going into this game too, he doesn't have a great showing. He finishes 0-7. There was one cool round where Kenny kind of learned from his mistake when he over-challenged Shawnee on that Piccadilly Search and Destroy against London the other day, and here he doesn't manage to do it, but still, Ultra win in a 6-2 fashion. Slasher drops a donut, not ideal. Then we go on to the domination, and Ultra win this one as well. This was a crazy close domination game. It was all the way down to the wire. Ultra almost threw it away, or, you know, maybe we could more accurately say OpTic nearly made a crazy comeback in the final few seconds, just like we saw. You guys may have seen the Parasites team versus Exotics team the other day we discussed in the Challengers Cup last weekend. Made a crazy comeback in at similar circumstances. But Ultra just hold on for the 142 to 141 victory, but then another incredibly clutch map from the OGLA. And there's one thing to be said about Toronto Ultra. If there's a team which is like an anti-clutch team, it's them, to be honest. They've done so well though so far this tournament. They've come so far. They've shown they've improved massively as a squad. But if it comes down to the wire, there's one team that's fallen short so far this season in game fires repeatedly and lost in clutch situations. Ultra is that team, and they do it again here, unfortunately for them, in the game 5. So yes, okay, they do win this close domination. But game 5 comes down, and Slasher just decides, look, I went 0-7 in the first Search and Destroy. It's time to take over the game. He goes 16-7 in the map 5, dominating on Arklov Peak. Gets 4 kills in the final round as well, I believe, to really decimate the hopes of the Ultra. Cammy was on fire with the sniper in hand this one, but Bance had a pretty rough final map as well. And as you can see from the scoreboard here, as I said, thanks to Cam Allen for these. Classic, and you know, the slaying on the side of Ultra relatively decent, but Slasher with a 1.2, Dashy with a 1.15. Not the best series out of TJ and Kenny, which is what we've really seen from this weekend, taking this team to the next level. The fact that TJ can have a pretty poor series and OGLA still win it is what I found pretty impressive here. But yeah, Slasher in the Search and Destroy only finishes with a 1.1 KD given his horrendous map 1, but it was the game 5 where he really turned things around. And Dashy with the slaying performance from another planet, especially in that domination, but it wasn't quite good enough. And as Momo says here, 16-7 on the game 5, and Slasher tweets this one out, the old Thanos gif. He was feeling good, and we always talked about with this OpTic Gaming team. We've talked about it as a matter of time. Maybe J-Cap dropping him could be the right move, putting him onto the bench, but I always thought it was a mindset thing with this team, especially with a guy like Slasher. We've talked about how they've been looking at things, and Slasher did this tweet the other day we talked about where he was like, okay, waiting for the next Black Ops game, and you know, with all that considered, it felt like they were mentally checked out. However, they've clearly turned things around, and Slasher and Dashy and the rest of the guys are in the right winning mindset now, and that is all the difference it took for this team, to be honest, given how much talent they have on their squad. So, would they make it work in the Game 5 round 11? We go on to the second semi-final, that being Subliners versus Atlanta FaZe, and this was, you could argue it was even better. Game number 1, Atlanta FaZe 250 to 222. They clutch up on the gun runner hard hardpoint. Honestly, some incredibly close hardpoint maps on this day. Then game 2, 6-3 to the Subliners. And I said, I felt like if Subliners won the first search, they should have been in the advantage, but I also felt like, if they were to go up 2-0, I don't think they would rescind that lead. But this 6-3, this should have been Atlanta FaZe's map. They were up 3-2, but it really should have been, you could argue it should have been 4-1 at that point, because there was another round they kind of threw away. And I've got to put this on screen. Up 3-2, the Atlanta FaZe have a 4v2 in a post-plant situation. Priestess head glitch in the bomber. Doesn't look like there's any way Subliners can win it. But Temp sneaks through a smoke, gets onto the bomb, and hops the ninja defuse. One of the first proper ninja defuses we have seen in a very long time here in Call of Duty Esports. He makes it work for the ninja. That ties the game up at 3-3, and then the momentum is all with the Subliners, and they run away the rest of the game. Similar to what we saw yesterday, really, with Temp clutching that 1v4. This ninja defuse was the turnaround point in the map. Very rare we see something like that, and Priester really should have seen him on the bomb. Then again, as JCap says here, they don't have the uniform on in game, so he wasn't quite glowing. He wasn't, glowing bright yellow as he kind of looked like on the screen. And I also kind of felt this, right? If this was on LAN, the crowd would have definitely given away this ninja defuse. The crowd would have been like, ooh, they would have seen it. And also the casters and the observers typically don't hop on with the guy ninja defusing, so that the crowd doesn't, realize it as easily to make those noises. Whereas it was nice that we could have that opportunity online with Maven and Merk, talking about it as it happened in real time. Obviously, I'm just kind of joking here. Obviously, LAN is better, but there's something to consider, right? That kind of thing probably wouldn't have happened at a real event. Nice that play has opened up as an opportunity. But, we have to continue with the rest of the series. Atlanta FaZe win a relatively comfortable domination in the end. And then game 4, it looked like FaZe were going to win this one, but Subliners clutch a big time accuracy, ice in his veins, goes huge on that P1 on the final rotation of hills. They end up taking it 250 to 247. But in the Game 5 fashion, as I did predict here, the only real prediction I got decently right this weekend was that FaZe would match up with Subliners in the semi-final, and they would beat them in a 3-2 fashion. It does happen here. The Search and Destroy this time on Gunrunner, where Atlanta FaZe just difficult to be beaten. I honestly think this map set really kind of favoured FaZe, to be honest with them. And yeah, FaZe win at 6-3, never really was in doubt. So clutch factor from FaZe, that's a really key thing with this team, given how good they are in respawns. But it comes down to a Game 5, I'm going to back FaZe a lot of the time. So yeah, moving on from that one, these were the final series scoreboards. Simp had a really good final day as well. Temp with a reasonable performance, but the rest of the Subliners couldn't quite get the job done overall. Unfortunate showing for them. Another Game 5 loss to Atlanta FaZe, and it's really the Search and Destroy where they are falling short right now from a team like FaZe, because in the respawns, they can definitely compete with them. The final series of the day then, the Grand Finals, OpTic Gaming versus FaZe Clan. We have seen this so many times throughout Call of Duty history, really reviving a dead rivalry, I suppose. Of course, it's not the same OpTic Gaming, not quite the same FaZe, you can argue, that we've seen in previous years, but still, OpTic versus FaZe means a lot in terms of an overall rivalry, and it was a really good grand final to kick us off then. So map number 1, Azir Cave. Dashy has a fantastic map, as does TJ. I think TJ goes like 42 in 33 or something. Really, really great map from him. 250 to 232. This has been a real staple map for Atlanta FaZe as well. So OpTic winning this one, of course, they should be a pretty good team on this map, given that the roles and the dynamics on that squad. They do win at 250, 232. But this game 2 was really where the series turned around. Of course, this is only a best of 1 game, right? Or not best of 1, best of 5, but it's just one series. And this game 2, if OpTic Gaming had won this, you feel like they've got to be big favourites for the grand final. But FaZe win it in an incredible fashion. Earlier on, in a few rounds earlier, there was this A-bomb versus the kind of truck, semicircular stone wall kind of area with Abizi up against Dashy. Dashy won the gunfight that time, and then in the very final round, it was Celium in a 1 versus 2. An almost unlosable round, you could argue, for OpTic Gaming. They get the bomb down. Celium's kind of close. There's a smoke out. Slasher did tweet out afterwards that the reason he flew out is because he thought the smoke was closer and Celium was closer to him than he actually was. But if Slasher just backs up there, goes into Swamp, goes to play from that back head glitch, like, you just don't need to run out and challenge, given that Celium, there's no way he's just going to hop the defuse in a 1 versus 2. He has to get at least 1 kill first. If they'd have backed up and played their life there, but Slasher gets picked on the first blood, can't really blame him too much, given that he was dominating that game 2 as well. He was like 13 and 6 at one point, had a really great map once again on this Arklov peak. But yeah, then it was Celium versus TJ in the 1 versus 1, and TJ was just a little bit too cracked factor is good, to be honest. He was he picked up the M4, wide peaks the head glitch, but it's not even a great head glitch, to be honest, that A-bomb one. Very easy for an M4 to just wreck you off it with the headshot multiplier, which they say isn't in the game anymore, but a lot of people are saying that they kind of feel like it still is. But, you know, anyway, TJ loses that round. Really shouldn't have happened, to be honest. Celium should not be clutching that 1 versus 2, especially in a round 11 fashion. But OpTic Gaming, really the only thing they've choked this entire weekend. And from there, it just doesn't go in their favour, right? Like, the last couple of maps are very close. You know, the St. Petro hardpoint, the domination as well was close for a while. So, yeah, OpTic Gaming looking really solid in the respawns. And if that Search and Destroy went a different way, we could have seen a very different series here. But as it worked out, Atlanta FaZe, favourites for the weekend, clutch up and win it in the end. 3-1 fashion. Simp just decides, look, I haven't had the great, last event, I haven't had the greatest first couple of days here at the Florida home series. It's time for me to take over on the Championship Sunday. 1.37 over the course of the series. No one really has a great series on the OpTic Gaming side outside of Slasher. You know, Kenny has a pretty poor series by his standards as well, but if he's performing better, honestly, OpTic Gaming can really be contenders here, and it seems like Chino has kind of enabled the rest of the squad to get their groove going. And also, you've got to consider the fact that, look, this team has so much talent on it. You could argue it was only a matter of time, and I do think it was a mindset thing more than anything. So Atlanta FaZe win it, back on top, say they. Dallas Empire and Atlanta FaZe, only teams now to have won 2 seasons or 2 events this season. They've won 1 on LAN, 1 online each, so impressive stuff there. This was the overall bracket for the weekend then. So FaZe winning the championship. 2 weekends time, we are in Seattle for their home series. I'll talk about exactly how that goes and the teams that will be attending that very shortly indeed. And this is the overall CDL points for the season. Clayster was saying on Twitter that, look, they got a really hard opening season bracket when they played in CDL Minnesota. I think they had to play the Huntsman and FaZe that weekend or something like that. So they had a tough run in that opening weekend. And if they'd have won one of those series, they would be at least joint top right now. But look, FaZe 170, 50 points from Florida, so they're kind of pulling away at the top of the standings right now. Both played 5 events, have FaZe and Empire and the Huntsman. OpTic Gaming made kind of a run here up to joint 7th place with their 30 points plus, and a lot of teams near the bottom of the standings making a good run here, and Mutineers getting caught up rather quickly indeed, you know, dropping a 0-point bomb this event, them and the Paris Legion. So interesting weekend. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on it down in the comment section below. Do you think FaZe are the best team in the game right now? Do you think Dallas Empire is still a stronger one? And what do you think of OpTic Gaming and their comeback? I'm sure we can talk about that over the coming days as well. And also Toronto Ultra, you have to really respect their performance. Only a Game 5, Round 11 away from meeting FaZe in the Grand Final, which, you know, could have gone a different way. Who knows? Because FaZe look somewhat vulnerable right now. Even though they still do come out on top, they're definitely not unbeatable by any means. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.